thrilled to be here, and it's one of those crazy days where I have a lot going on back down the hill, but this is such an important gathering, and I want to put it in context with a story I often tell about this aha moment I had as a 19-year-old young man, and I was working in East Palo Alto, California, which is right next to Palo Alto, but literally the other side of the tracks, as they say, a tougher neighborhood, a lot of challenges. And I was working with these kids in a summer academic sports program, and at the end of the summer I wanted to do an experiment with the kids to let them know that they could achieve a little bit better, always do a little bit more. And it came from a high school program I had where we had a speaker come in and ask everybody when we were sitting down to raise our hands, and then he said, raise it as high as you can, and then he said, okay, now do it 3 inches higher, and we all squeezed out 3 more inches, and he gave us this wonderful closing comment about you can always give more, you can always do more. And I gathered the kids that I was working with, about 13 kids, ages about 6 to 12, together, and I said, let's do this experiment. I want you to raise your hand as high as you can. And all of a sudden the kids just said, no way, man. Oh, brother, put your hand down. He's got BO. Oh, come on, this is terrible. Wrong day. And I was just getting frustrated, and I'm not as good as those teachers we just saw, so I resorted to a very base form of motivation called bribery. And I picked $5 out of my pocket, and I said $5 to the kid that could raise his hand the highest. And all of a sudden, all these kids being incredibly entrepreneurial, industrious young men, their hands just shot up, and they were all comparing their hands to each other. And I sat there with a smug sense of satisfaction that I was about to unleash my great lesson on them. And then I saw this kid who was the youngest of the lot, the shortest of the lot, the cutest kid you could imagine, and he was just sitting there with his arms crossed and his face all in a pout. And I thought to myself, oh, this is the last kid here that I want to sort of squelch his view of what he could accomplish. And suddenly, just when I was about to walk over them and give him a there, it's okay, one day you'll get a little taller, he suddenly just rips out of the gym and starts running towards the door. And I start sprinting after him. I pick him up just before he gets outside, and his legs are kicking and he's wiggling, and I'm like, Robert, where are you going? And he turns around to me and he goes, but you said you'd give $5 to the kid that could raise his hand the highest, right? And I said, yeah. And then with a wisdom that betrayed his age, he looks at me and he says, well, I know a way to get to the roof. I gave him $5. Now, this is the extraordinary reality of human existence. Genius is equally distributed all throughout our world. Every neighborhood has incredible children. Every neighborhood has children that are born with God's genius and brilliance and amazing. In fact, every single child has that and has that potential. But the tragedy of human existence, and indeed the tragedy of a nation that professes such high ideals, it has our kids literally by law saying these words, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The tragedy of our country is we're failing to manifest those principles and to empower our children to manifest that which they have within their hearts. And so this is, to me, what gets me excited. And I know the impact. I had a wonderful conversation with Colin Powell a number of years back where he was giving a lecture about the war in Iraq. He was giving a lecture about the problems of nuclear proliferation. And I just raised my hand and I said, what's the biggest threat to our democracy, in your opinion, in the next 50 years? And he didn't miss a beat. He said our inability to educate all of our children at equal and high levels. And that is the greatest threat to our democracy. That is what's rotting the soul of our country. In fact, you name it, McKinsey had a powerful study, and others have shown that our GDP is artificially held down, much lower, in terms of trillions of dollars because of our inability to give educational opportunity to all of our children. Now that's got to stop. We can transform that. There's an almost hackneyed down, but true African saying that says it takes a village to raise a child. I actually flip that the other way. It really takes a child to raise a village. We are a powerful nation. We are a great people. But it is our children that are going to be able to have us expand our horizons, to raise our sights, to bring us to the roof, even though we think we can just do a few inches more. This is one of those programs that is giving birth and giving light and giving hope and helping us to achieve that which we say we are. A nation of promise, of potential, a nation of abundant opportunity. It starts with education. So I want to thank you all for collectively coming together, because I have the privilege of working every day in Newark. I was actually talking to a young girl, 11 years old, on the way up here from a Newark classroom. I have the privilege of seeing these children every single day. seeing how hungry they are, how curious they are, how much they thirst and yearn for just information, for opportunity. And here we are meeting that most critical demand. We are doing in this room sacred work and beginning to make real on the promise of our nation. And for that, I'm grateful. I want to give a special thank you to my friend who is doing a wonderful job here, Mr. Brito. I want to thank this organization, and I want to thank those of you who are doing what's necessary to make us be successful by making your investment. Thank you all for coming together.
Oh,